Today, I decided to watch a little bit more MSNBC than I usually do, just to see, like, what is the enemy doing? I don't mean the enemy like, Trump fake news, like not saying MSNBC do anything bad to MSNBC, but as far as like trustworthy information, I wouldn't exactly call MSNBC like a friend of the facts and the truth. And to me, MSNBC, I mean, CNN's doing quite a lot of work for Elizabeth Warren too, Joe Biden, but to me, MSNBC has done way more, way more, as far as, I mean, they're all but campaigning for Joe Biden. And frankly, in my view, clearly trying to prop up Elizabeth Warren in hopes that in propping up Elizabeth Warren, they could drown out Bernie Sanders and pretend he no longer has any mojo, he has no movement, no. So let's first show you Joe Biden. It's been all the rage today. He's out with an advertisement, a commercial in Iowa that I won't give you my narration. Let's look at Joe Biden's first commercial television ad. He's going to have a lot of them with all that Wall Street money he's getting. Let's take a look.
We know in our bones this election is different. The stakes are higher, the threat more serious. We have to beat Donald Trump. And all the polls agree Joe Biden is the strongest Democrat to do the job. No one is more qualified. For 8 years, President Obama and Vice President Biden were an administration America could be proud of. Our allies could trust and our kids could look up to. Together, they worked to save the American economy, to pass the historic Affordable Care Act, protecting over 100 million Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now, Joe Biden is running for president with a plan for America's future. To build on Obamacare, not scrap it. To make a record investment in America's schools. To lead the world on climate. To rebuild our alliances. Most of all, he'll restore the soul of the nation. Battered by an erratic, vicious, bullying president. Strong, steady, stable leadership. Biden, president.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Joe Biden, definitely. That was like I would say, the bare minimum of, hugging himself over President Obama. We've seen Joe Biden tweet out, friendship bracelets with President Obama, fiercely defending President Obama, all these things. And what's remarkable to me, and this never gets discussed in the corporate media. And all these pundits make it seem like, embracing President Obama is the way to go, and that's great. Well, Hillary Clinton clung on to President Obama for dear life in the 2016 campaign. I'm gonna expand upon Obamacare. I want to continue the Obama legacy. Yada yada yada. I mean, Obama was a fairly popular president. He still is. But this whole notion of let's just harken back to those good old days under the Obama administration. Well, Obama was a popular president, and the candidate who was clinging to President Obama's policies and let's expand upon his legacy and let's expand Obamacare and these things, lost. In fairness, she did win the popular vote. If we were a sane country, that would be who wins elections, whether it's Hillary Clinton or anyone else. But that's not the country we have. She lost by clinging on to dear life to President Obama. And frankly, the country has moved way further left. If you look at support for Medicare for all, free public college, a Green New Deal, Fight for 15, a lot of policies, they have moved far past, in my view, faux progressive President Obama. But Joe Biden, he doesn't care, clinging to dear life. And we hear again this, let's recapture the soul of America, which I have thoughts on that soul of America. But oh my boy, oh my Lord, if you watch Morning Joe in the morning, which I hope you don't, I try to I turn it on when I wake up to try and fall back asleep. I know that sounds sarcastic, but I really try and turn it on to fall back asleep and give myself ideas for the rest of the day to hear what they're talking about. I mean, they were practically gushing. They were so giddy about this commercial ad. Let's play that first Morning Joe clip from this morning in reaction to Joe Biden's Iowa ad.
Well, if politics is all about contrast, and it usually is when you're going up against an incumbent, it's about contrast, then there's a great contrast there. You have a very hopeful, almost Reagan-esque vision of where this country can be. You see a lot of smiles. You see a lot of hugs. You see Joe Biden talking about expanding education, and also something that is so important. While everybody else is talking about scrapping Obamacare, scrapping the Affordable Care Act, Joe Biden is embracing it and saying, hey, you know what?
Let's move forward.
We did great things with that, but let's make it even better. That is a strong message, and it's quite a contrast with Donald Trump. Mika, what did you think?
Well, I liked it a lot. I think it harkened back to some of the positives of the Obama era, but it didn't depend on them. And he stood up for himself in the ad. His experience speaks for itself. When you're making a decision in the Democratic field, it's hard not to look at Joe Biden's experience, not just professionally, with decades serving in Washington and then wanting to go back again, which is saying a lot about who he is, but also personally. And you look at what this nation is looking for, kind of a reaffirmation of who we are.
Yeah.
It feels like he's the perfect vessel for that. That's my opinion. That's how I personally feel.
You know, but before we actually go to the rest of the panel, let's Alex, can we play the ad one more time? I want to have everybody look at it one more time, and then going to go around the table really quickly, get thoughts.
So, not only are they gushing over this ad, they say, wait, producer, let's play it again. Let's play it again for the audience. And by the way, the audience of MSNBC, to be clear, is older. I don't say that to mock the viewers, but the cable news audience tends to be older, and your traditional Democratic Party, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton type voter. And they are actively campaigning for Joe Biden live on the air. There's a difference in giving your opinion and let's play this clip again. Let's play this clip again. And when they talk about such a contrast to Donald Trump, I don't think they read the exit polls in 2016 to know what the very states that elected Donald Trump and the very states that will decide who becomes president in 2020, what their thoughts on key issues that Joe Biden is not a contrast to Donald Trump, that Joe Biden is exactly the same thing as Hillary Clinton. Right here, this is the Wisconsin exit poll. If you scroll down to, they ask about your thoughts on, the effects of trade, on international trade, right there on the left. So, Wisconsin, 62% said takes away U.S. jobs. That would be 62% of Trump voters. Takes away U.S. jobs. That's Wisconsin. CNN, MSNBC, they don't want to provide any context, any actual context of what is important in these states. But I don't know where it is. Michigan was similar to Wisconsin. I think it was like 68% were against. Let me get the number for you. I think it was 68% thought the effects of trade took American jobs and offshored them to other countries. And if you look at Pennsylvania, same number, 64% thought takes away U.S. jobs. So if the number one issue in these Rust Belt states were trade and immigration, why would putting forth somebody who voted for NAFTA is for TPP? He could say whatever he wants to say during that debate. As of 2016, he was writing op-eds trying to push through the TPP under President Obama. The same TPP that was a major issue in the 2016 election. And Biden, during the last debate, says, no, I wouldn't sign the TPP under its current language. That is the exact bill, that is the exact trade deal that you were championing 3 years ago as vice president, that you were trying to push, there's plenty of news articles about this, of Hillary Clinton to champion. And Hillary Clinton, of course, flip-flop away from that, because Bernie Sanders was becoming more and more popular, and the mood against free trade, i.e., having banks and corporations write trade deals and then having jobs in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio get sent to Mexico and China, not very popular. So Morning Joe, even though it is gushing over Joe Biden, even though they're saying quite a contrast, yes, anyone who hugs old ladies in commercials and, looks very nice and smiles and isn't foaming at the...
You feel it in your bones.
Right, and isn't foaming at the mouth is quite the contrast to what you have in the office. But is he a contrast to the current president in terms of ideology? Is he a contrast, a stark enough contrast to convince, because the only way you're going to defeat Donald Trump is not only bringing out more voters in the Democratic Party base, you have to pick off some of those Trump voters that went to Trump, which, by the way, 10% of those were former Obama voters that moved over to Trump. Well, if they moved away from Obama, why would they move back to Obama's sidekick, who is frankly more right-wing than Obama ever was? Joe Biden is way more conservative than Obama, and Obama is not exactly a progressive. So this is never discussed. The context is never given. We are just getting a very, very bad case of manufacturing consent from MSNBC. And we're going to get those same blank stares on November, I think the election's November 3rd, 2020, if Joe Biden is the nominee and Donald Trump wins 320 electoral college votes.
Is that what you're calling?
Yeah, electoral college.
No, I'm saying you're calling it 300, that's what he'll win by?
I think he could win over 300 against Joe Biden because they're going to act like, how did this happen? How did we see this how did people not see this coming? Oh my God, how? I'm telling you how. Because cocktail crowd drinking, coastal elites, Mr. and Mrs. Scarborough, they're married, are basically, because frankly their parent company Comcast, who did a major fundraiser for Joe Biden and is a major union buster, Comcast is, speaking of Union Joe, middle class Joe, I think preferably they all want Trump 4 more years because that continues this reality show that keeps the checks coming, the profit, the ratings, all that. But if they can't have Trump, they would much rather Biden. But, I'm open about my bias. I personally support Bernie Sanders. I'm not like playing his campaign ads 3 times. I'm not being dishonest about his record. They're pretending that someone with pretty much a worse voting record than Hillary Clinton, somebody frankly, and this is not meant sexist, this is meant factually, is less inspiring than Hillary Clinton. And she wasn't exactly, parting the Red Sea in inspiration in 2016. Joe Biden is literally running Hillary Clinton's campaign strategy. They're talking about courting Republican voters. Remember Chuck Schumer in 2016? For every blue-collar Democrat that we lose in Pennsylvania, we're going to get 2 moderate Republicans in Pittsburgh or something like that. Oh, for every two blue-collar workers we might lose, I think, in Pittsburgh or somewhere in Pennsylvania, we'll pick up 2 moderate Republicans. There's no such thing as a moderate Republican. Not anymore. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.